If you've been scouring the internet looking for a way to maximize your chances of getting back together with your ex, you've probably come across these 3 pieces of advice. Before you go ahead and implement them, I'm going to explain why it might be killing your chances to get your ex back. Number 1, 30-day no contact. This is an idea that's touted a lot on YouTube, and it pretty much says that if you leave your ex alone for 30 days and then text them after, they will have changed their minds and want to be back together with you. I believe it's super popular for 2 reasons. 1, it sounds awesome. When you're going through a breakup, every day feels like 1,000 years, and 30 days is something that's manageable and that you feel like you can do. And 2, it's very sellable. If you look at these people, most of them have courses. I have courses too. A 30-day no contact system is something that you can fit very cleanly into a course, and it sounds very viable, so a lot of people build their businesses around it. The problem is that most people take longer than that to actually change their minds. Over the past couple of years, I've done over 1,000 coaching calls with people going through breakups on both sides of the breakup. And most times for the dumper, it takes about 4 to 6 weeks of feeling very relieved before they start to become curious or considering anything. During this relief stage, they're going to be going out partying, they're going to be meeting new friends, they're going to be making new experiences, and sadly, they're not going to be focusing all of their attention on you. Now, this isn't because you're bad in any way. This analogy really helped me make sense of this relief stage and why it happens. When I was growing up, I really enjoyed cliff diving. I wasn't a professional or anything, like I could do a backflip, that's pretty much it. But pretty much in high school, we'd go to these cliffs and then get to the top of them, stand up at the top of them, and be really scared for a little bit and then jump off into a lake. Usually if it was your first time, you stood up at the top for a while and thought about the decision, and then when you finally jumped, you felt a lot of relief. This relief came from having completed a really hard decision, and that's the same exact feeling that your ex feels during the first 4 to 6 weeks. People usually don't break up on a whim. They were probably thinking about it for weeks or even months before they did it, and they were just battling inside of their own heads. So when that battle was finally over and they made the jump, now they can experience a lot of relief, and that's why they go off and they explore and they do all these things that you're really worried about. The reason reaching out after just 30 days is bad advice, in my opinion, is because they're still feeling the relief at that point. If you reach out to them and you're tearing them from that state of relief, it's kind of like someone who just jumped off that cliff and they're relieved to be back in the water, and then you grab them out of the water and drag them back on top of the cliff and force them to be there again. They're not going to like that. They're going to get angry, they're going to get cold, and eventually they're going to get mean. And if you have had a hard time staying no contact, or maybe you have reached out to your ex a couple times, you've probably seen this. In my experience, the actual timeline where I would reach out to someone is closer to around 3.5 months. Number 2, ignore your ex if they text you. The common reason I've heard behind this piece of advice is that if you ignore your ex, then they're going to view you as more attractive. You're going to be viewed as worth more because you're not responding to them. But this ignores where your ex is coming from if they're actually reaching out to you. If they've actually gotten to the point where they've become sufficiently humble to reach out to you, that means they've gone through the process of feeling relieved, becoming kind of curious about what you're doing, becoming concerned that they might not be able to have you, and then having that concern build up until the point where they're willing to risk you rejecting them. And I know that can sound kind of weird, like why would they be afraid of you rejecting them? But if you think about where they're coming from, they have no idea how you're feeling either. All they see is this person hasn't reached out to me in a certain amount of months, so maybe they've moved on as well, and now I'm missing them, so I'm going to reach out to them and see if I'm okay. That reach out usually isn't something super direct. They usually don't say that they miss you. They usually ask how your cat's doing, how your dog's doing, how your job's going, because they're trying to test the water and see if it's okay to text you, if you're going to reject them or not. Now, with them coming from that place, if you reject them by ignoring them, in most times that just confirms their fears and they say, okay, they have moved on and I'm not going to text them again. And maybe that is where you are. Like if you're actually thinking, I do want to move on from this person, it was a toxic relationship, which really I believe most people who break up shouldn't get back together. It's more these niche cases where it was a breakdown in communication, or maybe you guys went through something tough together that just broke you up for a time. But if your goal is to get back together and you're trying to ignore them to build up attraction, what you're actually doing is telling them, I've moved on, I don't want you, please stay away. And that's what I've seen. Like most times that people do ignore their exes, maybe they'll get one more reach out, but most of the time that ex considers it done and considers, okay, I messed it up, I made a mistake, I have to lay in the bed that I made. If you've done this and now you're freaking out, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that I ignored him when I really wanted to be with him. There are still ways to turn it around, and we can talk about those in other videos, but one way is if you see them in public, just appear very open. They're expecting you to really not like them, so smile and appear like you do want to be around them. But the key with this one is that good communication creates good relationships. If you have to be this mysterious just to get someone back, then they're probably not ready to be in a relationship with you again. If you're this sad about the breakup, then you guys probably already know each other. And if they're ready to be with you, they'll be with you. Now again, they probably will show up in a way that's not exactly what you want to see because they're afraid of rejection. So if your intent is to save the relationship, give them a little bit of grace and realize that they're afraid, and then work on matching their energy. For example, if they're asking how your cat is, say he's great. Just answer the question. Simple as that. And then see where they take the conversation. If they begin asking you how you are, ask how they are. Use their level of engagement as a limiter. So if they're here asking how you are, then you just be right about here, right below them. You're not sending giant things of text and they're sending these little things. Just match the energy and the level that they're at. The one thing that you do need to worry about here is breadcrumbing, which is a little bit out of the scope of this video, but you can let me know in the comments if you want to see that one too. The third piece of advice is probably coming from your friends. For guys and girls, if you just went through a breakup, a lot of your friends are going to tell you to get back out there and find someone new. What may be even a little worse, a lot of coaches online are going to tell you to go and find someone new, to take pictures with them and post it so that your ex will see them and think that you're more valuable again. If you're still going through it enough to be searching these types of videos, then you should not be doing either one of those things right now. I've done the first one. I tried to date someone to get rid of my pain, and it does work for a while. It can be really tricky because your pain does go away, and it can go away for months, but you can't run away from this type of pain. What happened to me and what will happen to you is a lot of that trauma from the pain of this experience is going to bubble up in that new relationship and hurt you worse and hurt the new person. Dating works like a mirror. You get the kind of person that you're ready for. So if you're in a state where you're still hooked on your ex and you're just like, I need to find someone to take away this pain right now, you're probably going to attract other people who are also in that same position. They're probably also running from their emotions, and you guys will hook onto each other, think that it's the best connection ever, and then end up having unhealthy communication later down the road. Dating, again, is part of healing, but it's the last step, not the first. It's what you do when you have completed everything else in your life. You're happy enough on your own that you're not going to run into the same situation you just got out of. And now you're willing to experience the best thing again in life, a relationship. The other reason it can be a terrible piece of advice if you're wanting to get back together with your ex is that it's very inconsistent. Again, if you're watching this video, you probably really want the relationship to work, and you probably said things like, I'll do anything for you. I'll change this and this and this about myself, and I'll choose you over anything in the world. If you said all of those things, and then a couple of months later, you're with someone else, and your ex gets curious finally, and they're like, I wonder what this person's doing. And then they look, and they see that you're just dating someone else that quickly. They're gonna think, whoa, what he said isn't true. He really doesn't care about all that stuff. I was right. He really didn't love me as much as he said he did. And that's also why it's not good to post with all these new people. Like if you're not even with someone, but you're just trying to convince your ex that you're valuable because all these other girls or all these other guys like you, one, you're gonna seem inconsistent, but two, if you have to manipulate your ex into coming back to you because they don't want you to be taken by someone else, as soon as they have you again, like if that does work, which it does work, that's why a lot of coaches say to do it, people do come back because of that. But as soon as it works, all of a sudden they have nothing to worry about anymore. And if that worry was the reason they came back, they have no reason to stay. If the only reason they wanted to be with you again was so no one else could have you, but now they have you, what's keeping them there? Nothing. And this is a giant cohort of people that I see get back together and then break up again. The best way to do this is with honesty and authenticity. If you really want to make things work with your ex again, but they don't want to be with you, you've got to respect them. You've got to work on becoming their best option through improving your own life. And it's not impossible. According to the best data that I've found through my own coaching and other things I've read online, about half of people get back together again. The ones that stay together are the ones who built separate lives that they were okay with, but then realized that they really missed each other. But the point is, that's going to take longer than 30 days. Even though I know you don't want to hear that, but I'm trying to be as honest as I can with you. If they reach out to you, please do not ignore them if you want to get back together. Again, if you don't, ignoring them is completely fine, but if you want to get back together, it's not a good technique. And finally, be consistent. If you say that you love someone, then you should wait at least 3 months to see what happens with them. Dating someone else isn't going to heal you anyway. It's going to make you feel worse. You're just going to think of them. Even if you do anything physically with someone else, it's probably going to bring up a lot of old emotions and it's going to hurt you worse. If you watched the video this long though, I'm proud of you. You're someone who's really trying to improve your life and do this the right way. Please don't get too down on yourself. I know that breakups can destroy your self-esteem. I know that you're probably thinking that you're unlovable right now because the person that loved you most decided that you weren't worth staying with, and that can hurt so bad. I know that pain. Just make it through today though. Keep going, stay no contact, and I can promise you that your life is going to be happy again. Like this video if it helped you out so more people can see it, and subscribe if you want more help getting through your breakup, and I'll see you next time.